Hello and welcome to the Digital Digest, your weekly breakfast of insights, tips and tricks and general information that will help anyone trying to move things forward in the digital world of accounting. This show is brought to you by Digital Disruptors and SB Digital, both of which are pushing the boundaries in the digital accounting space. I'm your host, and this episode is dedicated to recognizing those digital disruptors in the accounting tech space as nominated by you lot. And I'm lucky to be joined today by Patrick The QuickBooks Chap, to help us talk a bit more about digital disruptors and learn a bit more about his journey. So let's crack on. Aaron, I guess, firstly, can you just give a quick intro as to who you are and what the QuickBooks Chap is?
Certainly can. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I think this whole idea that you've got coming forward is absolutely brilliant. As I said on my kind of little bit on LinkedIn, it's digital disruptors and united. I think that's how we're going for it, isn't it? But yeah, my name is Patrick. I am a chartered accountant. I've got my own accounting practice called BOFIX, which stands for Office in a Box, and we try and make sure clients have that digital first approach. I'm the QuickBooks Chap, as you mentioned, which means I've got a nice little YouTube channel full of QuickBooks tips and tricks. And I'm also a QuickBooks trainer as well. And then finally, I've got a couple of podcasts, so Ask the Accountant and QuickBooks Labs.
Perfect. It's a perfect place to start, I guess, by asking you what you think a digital disruptor is, because we've come up with this concept, and it's not about us, it's about everyone in the space that is pushing the boundaries. But we want to understand from those that we get on the show is, what do you believe a digital disruptor is, or what do you need to have achieved to become a digital disruptor?
For me, I think digital disruptor is all about problem solving. And I feel like it's when you're prepared to challenge something, especially something that's been going for, say, 10 plus years and it's always been okay. And everyone's like, no, this bit works. I feel like for me, a proper digital disruptor would look at a challenge, look at a pain point and go, you know what? There might well be a better way. There might be some tech that's evolved. There might be some system that you've not considered. And I think we know in this circle that there's always new solutions out there and always new opportunities. But I think that there's a lot of people out there that are just happy with what they've already got, where they don't realize the gains that can be made. And I feel like for me, a true digital disruptor is ready to kind of have those difficult conversations and have that opportunity to maybe train someone or a team in something brand new to help that business go along. And I feel like we spend most of our time trying to perfect our own firm, but that's in benefit for then the rest of our clients, because then we can pass on that knowledge, we can have those conversations. And then for me, that's where the digital disruptor comes from.
Yeah, so I guess taking that then, do you think it's more external looking than internal? So instead of focusing on just what you're good at and what you can do, but trying to impact the world, the community in a positive way.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think you use your internal strengths first, right? That's what you've been able to do. You'll use that to hone maybe internal systems in your own practice or anything that you're doing in your own processes of trying to make it as fast as possible or as efficient as possible. And then basically you take that learning, and then I feel like what we're trying to do now is spread that wide as far as we possibly can. That's where using mediums like this show and like YouTube and like LinkedIn and all those sort of social media platforms is about saying, right, I found this really cool way to do something and I think it's really saving me a lot of time. Let's try and push that to as far and wide as possible so more people can see it. And then hopefully they will even turn around and go, you know what, actually, if you did this as well, it'll be even more efficient.
That sounds great. And if we had to kind of condense that down to one punchy statement or sentence, what would that be, Aaron?
I'd say we're problem solvers that are prepared to have those difficult conversations.
That's brilliant. I'm going to use that. Now, obviously, you've given a quick introduction to yourself. You're very focused on QuickBooks Online. You are the QuickBooks Chap. I don't know if that's self-proclaimed or if someone gave you that title. But I guess, firstly, when did you select QuickBooks Online as being your medium, and why QuickBooks Online over the other products in the space?
Yeah, so my first true love was Sage Line 50, and I think that was for a lot of accountants, right?
That's what we grew up on.
Exactly. But I think if we look back, we take off those rose-tinted glasses. The reason we loved it so much was because it was great for us as accountants and bookkeepers. Perfect piece of software for that. What I was given the opportunity to do at my last kind of major role, in a top 50 firm, was given the opportunity to look at the market, find what's going to be the right solution for that firm, and we looked at everything you could think of in terms of what was out there. So Xero, Sage, and everything else. And we wanted cloud-based, so kind of made it very simple for us that it was either going to be between QuickBooks or Xero. But the reason that I really gravitated to QuickBooks at the time was, I felt like it was something that we could mold into all of our different clients. There was enough there where if you dive into the settings, we could change things around and make it acceptable for pretty much any type of client base that we could find. And B, I felt like it was purely aimed, in my opinion, at the end consumer, at the end user, and what they would expect to see. So I can definitely see that criticism from time to time that QuickBooks is sometimes a little bit difficult from an accountant's perspective, and there's a few kind of bits that you're not wanting to see or bits that you would prefer to see that the others do really, really well. But I feel like that's been taken away because the focus is on the clients themselves. And I think that's really important, because if we can encourage our clients to use it and use the data that's in there, then hopefully they can actually empower their business going forward.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I've heard the complete opposite when it comes to, I guess, the QuickBooks versus Xero comparison, is that so many businesses seem to pick up Xero more quickly. And I've only ever seen people move from QuickBooks to Xero, not from Xero to QuickBooks. I have seen people move from Sage 50 to Xero and then back to Sage 50. I don't think we need to really go into the depths of why that's happened. But yeah, it's an interesting comparison. I think maybe it's just like, those Apple versus like Samsung users. There's just, you just find your own fit, don't you? The one that really works.
Yeah, I think for me, the big part is I'm also a QuickBooks trainer. So I've trained hundreds and thousands of people to use QuickBooks, and I'm efficient at doing that now. And I think that that's kind of where in my head, I know that anyone I can put in front of, I can get them to a point where they can efficiently use that piece of software. Whereas I use Xero. I have arguably one of my biggest and most important clients on Xero. But realistically, it's QuickBooks where I know I can get someone up to that level much quicker. And against personal preference, but I believe it's because it is aimed at language that clients can understand better and ways in which they can understand how to do it, especially with the new stuff that's coming with the Think AI and Learn QB and everything else that's coming along. I feel like it's definitely going down that route of, right, let's make it super simple to use so that any end user can just pick it up and go. And also, they've got more SKUs in the pipeline. So we've got QuickBooks Self-Employed, which is for the smallest of clients. And then we've got QuickBooks Advanced, which is for the biggest one. So I feel like once a client's in an ecosystem, they're covered no matter how their journey goes with their business.
Yeah, you definitely have the scalability with QuickBooks Online. I think that out of the Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, I don't know, you've got free agent cash flow, etc. You've got more in this space, but that ability to grow from a tiny individual person all the way up to probably a relatively big, medium-sized business is perfectly possible with QuickBooks. Okay, so you went green. You went all in on green. But at what stage did you get this title of the QuickBooks Chap and start doing all of this kind of media stuff that you do?
So it's all personal branding. I basically went through lockdown and I was invited on a show from QuickBooks called Ask the Expert, which was this daily show each and every morning. In fact, I was part of the pilot episode. And I'll always remember the pilot episode because I jumped online and I was talking to the world about this new thing called furlong. Obviously, it's furlough, but I was talking about furlong.
That went well.
Yeah, exactly. It's crystallized on the internet now. But I was there, using this platform to tell clients of mine and tell the rest of the UK, what to look out for in items like this. And I'd always wanted to, and I was always kind of looking at doing a YouTube channel, but that then made me go, right, actually, during the pandemic, I need to have this YouTube channel up and running because that's how we're going to be able to get our clients out there. And originally it was just a generic, I think it was called Apple Core Productions or something back in the day, which was one of my limited companies. And then basically I thought, you know what, I'm already a QuickBooks trainer. I've got good relationships with them. Let's test the waters, see what their legal team's going to do if I call myself the QuickBooks Chap. And it just kind of went from there.
You didn't get a call then.
Exactly. But it was the best decision I made in terms of that personal branding, because that's what's opened all these doors, talking on stages, going on road shows, having the ability to talk at events and having a seat at the accounting council with QuickBooks. It just gave me that voice of going, right, here it is. Here is what I think is the best bits about QuickBooks. Here's tips and tricks to go with it. And it just made sense. And that personal branding then has just continued to develop. And I feel like now that's it, well, for our practice, it's 90% of our referrals come from that platform now, because people are Googling, how do I use QuickBooks? Up pops my name, and the kind of rest is there, and that connection's already made. They've already had that connection with me. So yeah, it works really well.
So just so I understand the timeline, so you were in a top 50 firm, you left to set up on your own. When was that?
2018, I believe it was. Yeah, around that time.
Brilliant. And then you started to go down this digital branding side, 2021? Is that right?
Yeah, 2020 during the pandemic, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there was a kind of 2-year period where I guess you were trying to establish what your niche is, what your differentiator is. And you went and picked one, and that was the QuickBooks side, and you've gone, as far as I can tell, all in on it. I mean, I don't know. I don't think people watching the video, if you can stand up, Aaron, just so we can see your T-shirt here. You're very kind of polarized on this. I know I try and go down the route of being as independent as I can, although I know you tarnish me with the colour blue, and I am wearing blue, so there you go. But you've gone down, you picked a route. There's so many accountants in the space that are trying to establish how do they make a difference, how they differentiate themselves. Obviously, you've kind of led into this saying that you were a QuickBooks trainer and you then decided to go all in. But what would your recommendation be? Pick a lane, pick a focus, and just go with it. And if you're doing that, how long do you think it takes before it starts getting traction?
Yeah, you're right. And before we did that branding of QuickBooks, we were just meandering along as Bofix. We were just another accounting firm. I definitely think picking a lane is really important, especially if we look forward. We've got a lot of positive conversations going on with AI and everything else that's going through. And I feel like at this point in time, as practice owners, we need to figure out what flag we should be flying, because the only way we're going to get the benefit of AI and the benefit of all of this good traction that's going to come from it is by being in one ecosystem. Instead of what currently, and what I was proud of being back in the day, was best in class in every type of solution, proposals and practice management, all that sort of stuff. I feel like we're going to want to at least consider one ecosystem to rule them all to get the most benefit out of it. So I do feel like this is the time to start thinking about which is your flag to fly. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think there's every solution out there, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks. They've got their good parts and their bad parts. And I think, basically that they're fighting against one another. And overall, us as the consumer is the one who's going to win, basically, because we're the one that's going to have the benefits of each of those innovating and pushing forward. I think from a timing point of view, it's all about just getting, once you've kind of found that niche to go into, it's just about bombarding that channel. We were appearing on guests of podcasts and guests of other mediums just to make sure that we were shouting about QuickBooks and pushing it from there. So it will take time, but for us, it was like within the 6 months, we were already starting to see that massive benefit. And we were known as the go-to for QuickBooks because I'm a QuickBooks trainer, I have a QuickBooks channel. So it was just all flowing through from there. So yeah, it is worthwhile doing. And your time's going to vary. But if you really push down onto one niche, you're definitely going to see some better results, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to go to that QuickBooks Get Connected roadshow recently. And at there, I listened to a talk from Rachel Harris, who's, she's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
She's definitely a disruptor in the space. But she was talking about how she's gone out to make money from that, and she makes money from it. But I get the feeling that you have to invest quite a bit of time before you get any traction to be able to then make money on it. Is that something you've experienced? Do you make any money from the kind of media stuff you do?
Yeah, we do now. But back in the day, I didn't make a single penny out. In fact, it was, we were investing in equipment, in resources, in time. There was a big investment to make in that. But you're right, there is definitely money to be there. And we need people like Rachel to kind of show us that actually we shouldn't be giving this away for free. Good friends with Rachel, and she's the first one that actually came to me and said, look, you should be looking at sponsoring this podcast of yours. Like, why are you giving this away for free sort of idea? And we need people like that to trailblaze and tell us, because, and the way she pointed out to me, and she's completely right, is the first thing I would tell my clients is, why are you not looking to monetize this revenue? Like, what, sometimes we're a victim of not taking our own advice. And I feel like that's something we've got to start doing better of, is going, well, we'll be the first to tell our clients to do X, Y, Z. So really, we should be doing X, Y, Z to show the example of how that could be. And monetizing your income streams is the most important bit, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I know that I mean, my viewpoint is you go out there to, as you said, pave your way, do your own thing, and then over time work out how you can actually get some money from doing it. I don't think you should potentially go in the other way around. I think that becomes quite pressurized, but that's my viewpoint. But I know you've talked about the fact that you're very QuickBooks. Let's say that I'm very Xero in this debate. Why do you think that QuickBooks is the best product if you're playing the long game? What is the thing that's going to differentiate them from the others?
I feel like, again, we're going back to what the long game is going to be and what the future looks like. And AI is going to be a huge part of it. QuickBooks have got, 700 patents in the AI space, 1,000 plus people just working on AI alone. They're trying to build their own language model. They're going all in on AI. And if you believe the hype, and I certainly do, it's that AI is going to be the next internet. It is that big step that we're going to have to look at. And I feel like, yes, other platforms can go and add any language model, any chat GPT or anything like that to their product, and they'll probably get really good results. But then there's that question mark of, well, how much data do we pass that model, and how much can they actually do when we're just connecting an API to one and moving it from there? And the idea with QuickBooks is they're going, right, well, or Intuit, should I say, is, well, let's just build our own. Let's build it from the ground up and see how far we can go. And when you look at where Intuit's based, they're between Google and Apple and everything else. They have a right to have that. They're in Silicon Valley. They're ready to build that. So I feel like that with their ecosystem, it's not quite there yet. I'll be the first to admit that. I'm the first to, criticize what's not there and what's working and what's not. But I feel like their vision of having this one ecosystem for them all, I think it's going to be really powerful, especially for a small practice like ours. Like, that's what we need. We need that innovation. We need that efficiencies to be able to give us a scalable model so that we can push it forward. And I feel like that's where, for me, putting the green cap on and going for the green cap is the right model for us.
Green cap, green background, green pen, green everything. If green is not your favorite color, then you've picked the wrong brand. But yeah, I agree with you. I think AI is going to be that next kind of tipping point, that innovation that changes everything. And to really maximize the effectiveness of AI, you need a lot of data. And Intuit has a vast amount of data, so it has a massive chance of being the market leader in the space. But look, we've talked about lots of things here, and I think that this feels like a great place to kind of wrap up this week's show. Hopefully this episode has provided you all with valuable insights that you can take forward. Please do check out the show notes for links to the Digital Disruptors, SB Digital, and anything and anyone that we've referenced in this show, including Aaron and his podcast, if you want to do check that out. If you want to ensure you catch future episodes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you look out for the release every Thursday morning. And we look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks.